Imagine it's the year 1372. You are not a lord, a knight, or even a peasant. You are a prisoner. The torchlight flickers on stone walls slick with centuries of damp. Iron bars groan behind you as the door slams shut, not with ceremony, but with tired indifference. No one is coming to save you. You stand in a room no larger than a grave. Your chains are heavy, rusted, and far too tight. The floor is wet. With what you'd rather not guess. There's straw in the corner, black with rot, alive with lice. You smell something burning, but there's no fire, only the stench of old wounds and fear. You are cold, but sweating. Hungry, but nauseous. Alone, but surrounded by breathing. From somewhere in the darkness, a man begins to pray in Latin, his voice cracked, frantic. Another sobs. Someone laughs. A hoarse, broken laugh that has nothing to do with joy. This is not a dungeon in a fairy tale. There are no manacles on stone walls lit by moonlight. No swirling cloaks or daring escapes. This is the holding cell beneath a town hall, the forgotten pit behind a castle kitchen, the underground cistern that became a cage. Your crime? Theft, or suspicion of theft, or the inability to pay a tax you never agreed to. It doesn't matter. You're here now. And time has a different shape in this place. The rats don't run. They watch. A guard thuds down the stairs, one boot heavier than the other. He doesn't speak to you. He throws a bucket into the cell. Inside, water maybe? Something that was once bread. Maybe. He locks the gate and vanishes, his torchlight dancing away like a dying sun. You try to sit. The chain bites into your ankle. You try to breathe. The air is thick with centuries. You wonder how long people last here. Then you wonder if anyone even knows you're gone. This is medieval justice, not swift, not fair, and never quiet. And the night has only just begun. If you enjoyed my stories, please subscribe to my channel and let me know what you liked and what you didn't like so that I can improve my stories. You can also write where you are from, as I would be interested to know. You are not alone. It's not a voice you hear first. Not a whisper or footstep. It's the breathing, wet, uneven, dragging through the dark like a leaking bellows. You thought this place was empty, or at least empty of the living. But now your ears have adjusted, and you can hear it. Someone, something, is in the far corner, just beyond the range of your fading vision. He shifts. You hear the straw crackle beneath him. It's not clean straw. Nothing in here is clean. Your nostrils sting with the layered scent of rot, mildew, iron, and the vague sourness of human wounds left unattended. Somewhere under all of it is the smell of sweat so old it has fermented. The shape in the corner groans, barely a human sound. You can just make out his outline now, legs pulled up to the chest, arms wrapped around shins, ribs pressing against filthy skin. A naked foot juts into the dim light. The toes are swollen, black at the edges. Frostbite. Infection. Or maybe something worse. Don't drink from the bucket. He rasps suddenly, startling you. His voice is thin and papery, like someone who hasn't spoken in weeks. It's from the kitchen drain. They think it's funny. You don't respond. He doesn't expect you to. For a long moment, you both sit in silence. Then he speaks again, softer. I used to be a cooper. Made barrels. Good ones. Tight as a bishop's purse. He chuckles once, a sound that turns into a cough and ends in a rattle. He tells you he was arrested for hoarding salt. Not stealing it, just keeping too much of it. Someone accused him. A neighbor. Maybe it was true. He doesn't remember anymore. But he remembers the lashings, the first winter, the rats. Always the rats. Had a daughter, he murmurs, voice sinking into the straw. Her hair was yellow like candle wax. She coughed one morning. Blood on the blanket. They said it was a curse. But I knew it was the well. Water smelled sweet, like almonds. You try not to breathe too deeply, but the air is dense and soupy, unmoving. There is no circulation, no window, no clean draft. Your breath tastes of mold and metal. Your chain scrapes faintly against the floor as you shift to ease the ache in your spine. The man flinches. Don't drag the chain. They hear that upstairs. Think you're trying something. You glance behind him and see the wall, marked. Dozens, maybe hundreds of tiny scratches line the stone, stacked in vertical rows. Tallies. Days, perhaps. Or attempts. Some are shallow and neat. Others gouge deep, crooked, violent. Then you see the bones. Piled under a bit of rotted cloth near the wall, half hidden by shadow. Small. Too small. A rat, perhaps. But your mind doesn't let it rest there. The man sees your stare. He died in the frost last year, he says flatly. They never checked. I dragged him to the corner so he'd stop staring. Your stomach turns. You want to ask questions, but your mouth is dry, thick with dread and something you hope is only fear. You settle into the cold again, back against the stone. The chain tugs at your ankle. It's already left a red ring around the skin. A week of this, and it'll be an open wound. Above you, through the cracks in the ceiling, you hear boots. Slow, methodical. One heavier than the other. A guard. He pauses. You hold your breath. Then he moves on. You exhale quietly. The man beside you has gone still again, his eyes open but unfocused. You wonder how long he's been down here. He doesn't seem to. The bell rings above. You don't know what time it is. Only that time here doesn't move. It pools, thick and gray, like the water in the bucket they gave you. And in that silence, with bones in the corner, and your skin slowly freezing to the stone, you realize something. You're not counting down the hours until you're released. You're counting how many you'll survive. You don't know what time it is. Morning, perhaps. Or late afternoon. In this place, light is a rumor. Time doesn't pass. It stalls, like phlegm in a dying throat. But eventually the guard returns. You hear the keys first, a slow, disinterested jangle. The sound of authority that doesn't need to hurry. His boots descend the stairs, one thudding heavier than the other, each step echoing down the stone tunnel like a slow drumbeat. The other prisoners stir. One coughs. Someone mutters a prayer too slurred to decipher. Then he appears, hunched, damp, and bored. A face like wet bark. His torch casts long shadows that stretch like grasping fingers across the walls. He doesn't look at you as he slides a wooden tray beneath the bars with the toe of his boot. Your meal. The tray itself is black with old grease, the corners softened by time, or teeth. Upon it sits a wooden bowl, stained and cracked. Inside, pottage. Or what's left of it. A slop of lukewarm barley, root vegetables turned to paste, maybe a shred of meat. If you're lucky, it's not rat. Floating on top is a thick skin, congealed from sitting too long in someone else's hallway. The smell is indescribable. A mixture of old onions, sour ale, and something vaguely fungal. It shouldn't be edible. And yet it is. Just. Next to the bowl is a heel of bread. Black as soil. Harder than it looks. Baked with barley, rye, and possibly sawdust. Some say they stretch the flour with ground acorns. Others say bones. You don't ask. You just eat. Your chain lets you reach the tray, but only barely. You pull it closer, fingers trembling from cold and hunger. The first bite takes effort. The crust is like leather, it tears at your gums. You chew slowly, more from necessity than caution. The pottage burns your throat, not because it's hot, but because it isn't. It's been warm, then cold, then warm again. There's a film of oil across the top that shimmers in the torchlight. It tastes like boiled dirt with memories of cabbage. You eat anyway. You have to. Hunger is louder than disgust. Your cellmate watches, then reaches for his share. He doesn't speak. He just scoops a clump of pottage with his fingers and slurps it down. No expression. No pleasure. Just survival. When you're halfway through, a roach scurries across the tray. You don't flinch. You just keep eating. Once, this would have horrified you. Now, it doesn't even register. Because the worst part isn't the food. It's the thought that it might run out. There is no schedule. No promise of when, or if, the next meal will come. The guards bring it when they remember. Or when they feel like it. Sometimes once a day. Sometimes not at all. Sometimes, they bring it and take it away, just to watch. You scrape the bowl clean with the edge of the bread. Every drop matters. You don't know how long you'll need this strength, or what it'll be used for. But you've learned something already. In here, hunger is not the enemy. Hope is. The silence wakes you. Not footsteps. Not shouting. Not the clink of chains or the bark of orders. Just silence. Absolute and wrong. For the first time since you were thrown into this pit, the prison is still. No coughing. No moaning. Not even the scraping of rats. It's as if the building itself has stopped breathing. Your eyes snap open. It's impossible to tell how long you slept. Minutes? Hours? Sleep here isn't restful. It's a collapse, an escape through exhaustion. But now your body is stiff with cold, and your ears are straining into the dark, begging for a sound, any sound, to prove you're not buried alive. The man beside you is motionless. At first, you think he's dead. Then his chest lifts, shallow and slow. He's awake too, just not speaking. Maybe he hears it too. Or doesn't. There's something about this kind of silence. It isn't peace. It's potential. Like the air before a thunderstorm, or the stillness in a forest just before the wolves begin to circle. You try to shift, but the chain resists, digging deeper into your skin. You've bled now. Not much. Just enough to sting. The iron bites with the hunger of something alive. A drop of water falls from the ceiling. One. Then nothing. Even the leaks are hesitant. And then footsteps. But not where you expect them. Not from the stairs. From beneath. You freeze. Your skin crawls with a cold sweat. The man in the corner stirs slightly, and in a hoarse whisper you barely hear, he says, "Don't speak. Don't answer." The footsteps aren't heavy. They're soft. Wet. Flesh slapping against stone, like bare feet, slow and aimless. You don't know how there could be a passage beneath your cell, but something is moving there. Something that drags. The sound passes, and the silence returns. Longer this time. Deeper. It presses on your ears like pressure underwater. You want to cry out, to shout at the darkness just to hear your own voice, but something inside you holds back. Not fear. Not exactly. Instinct. Eventually, the man speaks again. Quiet. Careful. They keep something below, he says. It doesn't eat food. Just sound. You don't know if he's delirious. You don't know if you care. All you know is that he's not smiling. And whatever it is, it walks the lower stones when the guardhouse above grows tired of listening. You look at the walls. No windows. No escape. No torchlight this time. The only light comes from memory. The only warmth from your own breath. And the only thing louder than the silence is the sound of your heart, pounding hard enough to be heard by the thing below. You try to count. Not days. You've lost track of days. You count heartbeats. 1, 2, 3. Don't answer. Eventually, nature calls. But there's no door to close. No curtain to draw. No place to go that isn't already soaked in shame. You hesitate, but the pain in your belly won't let you wait. So you shuffle toward the bucket, if it can be called that. It's a wooden pail with a split down one side and a crusted rim that's older than your memory of the sky. It smells like every prisoner before you, layered in slow decay. Piss, blood, and worse. Your chain clinks. The man in the corner doesn't look at you. Out of mercy, perhaps. Or maybe he's learned to look away. You crouch as best you can, trying to avoid the worst of the floor's damp spots. The straw is black here. It never dries. There is no toilet paper, of course. No cloth. No moss. If you're lucky, you find a strip of old linen someone left behind. If not, your hands. Or nothing. The bucket has not been emptied in days. Or longer. Its contents climb near the rim, and as you finish, you wonder, who carries it up? When? Is it ever cleaned, or just replaced when it collapses from rot? You learn quickly how much of prison life is ritualized degradation. There is no dignity here. No one will look you in the eye while you eat, but everyone hears when you defecate. The act itself echoes faintly in the stone, like mocking applause. You return to your place, face burning, stomach twisting from cold and humiliation. You sit again on the same stone, next to the same man, who has said nothing. Not a word. He's been here longer. He knows that shame is just the first thing you lose. The body follows. The mind comes last. A few cells down, someone vomits. A hacking cough. Then sobbing. Not loud. Not pleading. Just quiet, hopeless sobs, the kind that don't ask for help because none is coming. The air is heavier now, laced with the sourness of the bucket, the fear of being seen, and the thick, clinging sense that this place is not meant to be cleaned. Ever. Not with water. Not with time. Some dirt sticks to the soul. And still, the door doesn't open. No guard. No light. Just you, the stone, and the bucket. You understand now why madness begins here, not with pain, but with the small indignities. The ones that return daily. The ones that remind you you're not a person anymore, but a problem someone has put underground. You wipe your hand on your tunic. The smell follows you. Sleep won't. There's a place on the wall that feels different. Not to the eyes, those gave up trying hours ago, but to your fingers. When you press your hand to the stone in the dark, you find the edges of something. A patch where the chill isn't smooth but broken. Scored. You trace it gently. Lines. Shallow, uneven, some deep, almost angry. Dozens of them. Maybe more. Your cellmate, still curled in the straw behind you, speaks without looking. That's the counting place, he mutters. For those who still think they're leaving. You don't reply. Not yet. Your fingertips move across the grooves. Vertical, mostly. Sets of 5, like scratched-down memories. Some small, others wider. Some rushed. Others careful, almost reverent. This isn't graffiti. It's testimony. You try to imagine the hands that made these marks. Were they younger than yours? Older? Did they cry as they carved them, or stare blankly as time carved them back? Did they finish what they started, or were they dragged away mid-sentence? There was a priest once, the man continues. He prayed here. Made crosses in the stone. Said every mark was a psalm. He stopped after 47. What happened? You ask. Same as happens to everyone. The praying just stopped. You keep feeling the wall. Your hands move lower. There, near the base, the marks change. Smaller. Shaky. Children's hands, perhaps. You find a crude circle, drawn over and over again, deeper each time. Someone needed that shape. Someone needed it enough to press it again and again until the stone gave way. Next to it, a word. Barely legible, carved thin with something dull. Mercy. The weight of the wall is not just its age, it's the silence embedded in it. The history of people who were here before you, who spoke into this same blackness and left only their scratches as proof that they existed. You run your hand across a spiral. It loops inward again and again, never ending. It doesn't comfort you, but it understands. The air is heavier now. Your joints ache. Hunger gnaws more sharply. Not the wild, roaring kind from early starvation, but the steady, cold gnaw of your body beginning to let go of questions. You know that feeling now, not desperation, but surrender. Then, as if the universe mocks you, a single drop falls from the ceiling. Then another. And another. The rhythm is different. Not the endless dripping you've learned to ignore. This is slower. Measured. Spring melt. Your cellmate whispers. They say it's thawing. That the rivers are moving again. It sounds like nonsense. Seasons feel fictional in here. You barely believe in tomorrow. But still, you listen to the dripping, and for the first time since arriving, you press your own nail into the stone. You don't know what to carve. Not yet. So you make a line. Just one. Maybe tomorrow you'll make another. And in this place where everything is taken, even that, a scratch, feels like resistance. It begins with a sound. Not loud. Not at first. Just a distant echo, curling up through the stones from a deeper chamber. A cry. Short, sharp, then silence. Then another. You freeze, spoon halfway to your mouth, though the food is long gone. Your cellmate doesn't look up. He stares at the wall, unmoving, eyes open but somewhere far away. You know better than to ask. The sound comes again. This time, not a cry, but a thud. Wet. Followed by something like a moan, or wind forced through a broken reed. It echoes in the stones, muffled and warped, but unmistakable. Someone is being punished. Your stomach knots. Not from pity, not exactly, but from the deep, involuntary fear that says this is not far away. A floor. A door. A few choices gone wrong. That's all that separates your breath from theirs. They're using the hammer today, your cellmate says softly. You say nothing. He continues, still not blinking. For thieves. Or deserters. Doesn't matter. Sometimes they just pick someone. Keeps the others quiet. The next sound is unmistakable. A voice, breaking. A scream. Long and full of something older than fear. It doesn't fade. It just stops. Cut off midword. And then come the murmurs. Footsteps above. A crowd. The weight of bodies shifting. The prison sits beneath the hall of justice, or what passes for it. And justice here is a public thing. The townsfolk gather to witness. Not to intervene. Just to be reminded. Sometimes they cheer. Today, they are quiet. You press your hand to the floor. The stone is cool, as always. But if you concentrate, you can feel it, the tiniest vibration. The echo of something ending. Your cellmate speaks again, more to the wall than to you. They let the body hang till dusk. Sometimes longer, if it rains. You close your eyes. Try to block it out. But sound travels differently underground. It crawls. It lingers. It settles into bone. They won't call your name today, the man says. Not yet. They need you weak, not broken. You don't respond. Because you're thinking about what you'd do if you heard your own name echo down the stone stairs. If the guard stopped at your gate, torch in hand, and asked nothing at all, just pointed. If they opened the door and your chain pulled taut one final time, you imagine the torchlight on your face, the crowd above, their eyes, their silence. And worst of all, you imagine the sound you might make, and whether it would be the same as the one you just heard. That night, when sleep finally comes, it comes shallow, twitching, dreamless. A slipping in and out of awareness, never fallen far enough to forget where you are. Your body rests. But your mind listens. And somewhere in the hush between breaths, You feel something beneath your hand. A fold in the straw. Unnatural. You sit up slowly and reach down. It's soft. Cloth. You tug gently and feel it loosen, releasing from the damp floor like peeling away old skin. It's a scrap of linen. Small. Stained brown in places that might once have been red. You hold it to what little light the corridor offers. There's something sewn into it, thread still intact. Not a name, not a symbol, but words. Crooked, uneven stitches done by hand. I am still me. That's all. No signature. No plea. Just that one aching truth. You stare at the words. Not for their beauty, they're clumsy, frayed, but for their defiance. Someone made this. Down here. In this place. Where hope goes to starve and memory is punished. I am still me. Not a prisoner. Not a body. Not a beast. A person. Your cellmate watches you. You hadn't noticed he was awake. He says nothing for a long time. Then, finally, it was hers. You look at him. She was here before you. Younger than most. Said she'd sewn as a girl? They caught her stealing eggs during Lent. First offense. She thought she'd be fined. They gave her 6 months. Where is she now? You ask. The man doesn't answer. But he doesn't have to. You hold the cloth differently now. Like it matters. Because it does. In a place where everything is stolen, dignity, memory, names, this is something left behind. A thread across time. Proof that someone still claimed their selfhood, even when all else was stripped. You fold the linen carefully and press it flat beneath the straw, near your ribs. Close to your body. Like a relic. Like a secret. You don't know why, but it feels holy. The cell goes quiet again. Just the drip. The breath. The scratch of rats against stone. But now, even here, there's something human. Not yours. But close enough to borrow. And for the first time, you think, maybe survival isn't the only form of resistance. Maybe remembrance is too. The next morning, if it can be called that, brings change. Not in the light, there is none. Not in the silence, that still wraps the stone like fog. But in the sound of keys. Many of them. Not the tired clatter of the usual guard. This is slower. Deliberate. A different man descends the stairs. You hear him long before you see him. His boots are softer, but his presence is heavier. When he steps into view, you notice his cloak first, gray, but cleaner than the others. A scarf at his neck. He carries no torch. No need. The cellmate stiffens. Says nothing. The man stops at your bars, head tilted slightly. He looks at you as if examining something already half-rotten. His hands stay behind his back. You're new, he says. Haven't broken yet. You remain still. Good, he continues. Means you're still useful. He doesn't introduce himself. But you hear how the other cells fall quiet. How even the coughing stops. This is someone they know. And someone they fear. I handle arrangements, he says. Messages. Deliveries. Privileges when earned. Misfortunes when required. He speaks with the cadence of someone who enjoys being understood, but never questioned. He leans closer. There's a man upstairs, he says, who thinks you know something. Or someone. Maybe he's wrong. Maybe not. I don't care. But if you wish to be useful, you'll tell me. You say nothing. He smiles. Not warmly. That's fine, he says. Everyone's silent at first. He reaches into his cloak and produces something small. A piece of bread. Fresh. You can smell it before you see it. Soft crust, warm crumb. It shouldn't be possible, not here. He places it on the stone just beyond the bars. Next time, you answer. And maybe this becomes routine. Then he turns and walks on. The bread remains. Your stomach screams, but your mind claws louder. The cellmate is watching. His face is tight, not hungry. Angry. Don't take it, he says. You stare at the crust. It's not a gift, he continues. It's an anchor. Once you eat, he owns you. You hesitate. But the smell. It carries you back. To a street. A fire. A mother's hands. A time when you were more than cold and skin. You reach forward, just an inch. Your fingers touch it. And you realize, hunger is not your worst enemy. Memory is. That night, the cell feels warmer. Not in any physical sense. The stone is still damp, the air still sharp. But something inside you has shifted. The bread sits in your gut like a coal, not just feeding you, but reminding you of what it felt like to be fed. The danger in it isn't the deal. It's the softness. The sudden glimpse of a world that still has taste, and scent, and kindness. Your cellmate hasn't spoken since. He lies with his back to you, shoulders curled, his breath ragged. But you feel his resentment like heat from a stove. You try to sleep. But the quiet is thick. Oppressive. And then, just as your mind begins to drift, he speaks. You shouldn't have taken it. His voice is barely audible. Dry. Cracked. You think he's helping you. He continues. But he's not the worst thing here. He's just the one who wears clean boots. You turn toward him. There are others? You ask. He laughs bitterly. Of course there are. Always. Every prison has its king. You wait. He doesn't explain. But you understand. Not the guards. Not the officials. Not the scribes with their wax seals. No, he means someone in the cells. A prisoner. One of them. Years ago, he says, there was a butcher's son down here. Built like a wall. He learned how to trade favors, snuck messages, hoarded scraps, found ways to make the guards look the other way. What happened to him? You whisper. Nothing, your cellmate replies. That's the point. He's still here. You listen, wide-eyed. He controls the corner cells. Has 3 men under him. They call him the wheel, because everything turns when he says. If he wants you silenced, you vanish. If he wants you fed, you eat. If he wants you watched. He stops. You sit up. You think he's watching me? Your cellmate turns slowly. His eyes are hollow, ringed with weeks of hunger and sleeplessness. He watches everyone who still has a face. You don't know what that means. Not yet. But it stays with you. Because now, even in the quiet, you feel it. Eyes. Unseen. Measuring. Waiting. And suddenly, the dark feels less empty. It feels attentive. They come for you before dawn. Not with warning. Not with ceremony. Just the sudden rattle of keys, a flood of torchlight, and 2 guards with arms like mallets. They don't speak. One unlocks the gate, while the other steps inside and grabs your chain. No words. No charges. Just action. Your cellmate doesn't look at you. He simply murmurs, "Don't resist. Don't ask." They drag you out into the corridor. The world outside your cell is wider, but not freer. The walls here are thicker with grime, the torches fewer, the air sharp with lime and smoke. The path leads upward, slowly, towards something that smells of rot and wood smoke. They take you not to the Hall of Justice, but to the courtyard. It is snowing. The sudden cold is a slap. Your skin, used to damp stone and still air, recoils from the wind. Your breath fogs before you, and you feel your toes begin to numb within seconds. The yard is enclosed on all sides by towering stone. No sky, just the white blur of snowflakes falling through grates above. It is not beautiful. It is a theater. Already, there are people gathered. Not nobles. Not townsfolk. Just prisoners. Some stand chained to posts. Others sit on the ground, hollow-eyed. A few are gagged. You hear sobbing. But you're not brought here to watch. You're brought here to perform. The guards force you to your knees in the center of the yard. They tie your hands behind you, rough ropes slicing into your wrists. You try to speak, to ask, but a blow to your ribs ends the question before it starts. Then comes the voice. It echoes from a balcony above. Smooth. Confident. Practiced. Prisoner 612. It calls. You are here to confess. You look up. You cannot see the speaker. Just the shape of a man behind a veil, watching. Judging. You stole from the church, he says. You spat at a priest. You conspired with heretics. Confess, and the cold will be short. Refuse, and it will teach you. You try to protest. None of this is true. You were caught with a stolen chicken. Nothing more. But no one cares. The crowd is silent. The guards step back. You realize now, this is not about truth. This is not even about punishment. This is ritual. A spectacle. A display of control. And so, through cracked lips, shivering, you begin to speak. I confess. You don't finish the sentence. You don't need to. The voice above cuts in. Louder. You shout it. I confess. The words echo. The prisoners do not cheer. But the snow keeps falling. And in that moment, on your knees in the freezing yard, with blood in your mouth and your dignity stripped raw, you understand something ancient. In this place, pain is not the sentence. Performance is. They don't take you back inside right away. After the confession, after the shouting and the frostbitten silence, they untie your hands and leave you kneeling in the slush. Not chained. Not bound. Just discarded. Like meat after the feast. The yard empties slowly. A few guards linger, muttering. One spits. Another laughs softly and kicks snow toward your face. But they don't beat you. Not now. They've already taken what they wanted. The snow is darker where you kneel. Stained. And beneath it, you feel something strange. Warm. Wet. You glance down and realize where they've left you. The drain. All the waste from the pigsty above, shit, blood, entrails, bathwater, funnels through a stone trench and collects here, beneath a rusty grate. You're kneeling in it now. You didn't notice before. Too numb. Too dazed. But the smell reaches you. Slowly. Like a rising tide. You gag once. Then again. But nothing comes. Your stomach's been empty too long. Eventually, you crawl sideways, just enough to find a patch of snow less soiled. Your knees burn, your hands tremble. You try to wipe your mouth, but your sleeve is stiff with frozen sweat. No one speaks to you. No one orders you back inside. This, you realize, is the punishment. Not the confession. Not the cold. This. The waiting. The abandonment. The knowledge that you belong to no one. That not even your captors need to look at you anymore. You sit there for what could be minutes. Could be an hour. And then you hear footsteps. Not boots. Bare feet. Slow. Measured. You look up and see a figure approaching through the swirling snow. Wrapped in rags, bent at the spine, face shadowed by a hood. No guards escort him. No one watches him. He walks like someone aloud. He stops beside you and sets something down. A wooden bowl. Inside broth. Thin, pale, steaming. He doesn't speak. Just nods, then turns and walks back toward the far corner of the yard, disappearing into a gate you didn't notice before, hidden in the stone, low to the ground. You stare at the bowl. Your hands reach forward before your mind decides. You sip. Warmth. Salt. Something green. Parsley? No, impossible. But real. You look toward the gate. It's already closed. And you understand now, this prison has layers. Cells within cells. And somewhere, down there in the stones, someone else is watching. Not the guards. Not the officials. Someone older. Someone who feeds the broken. Someone who knows who you are, before you know it yourself. They bring you back to your cell just before nightfall. Your legs barely work. Your wrists bleed where the rope bit too deep. But the worst pain lies deeper, in the quiet place behind your ribs, where something softer once lived. Your cellmate helps you lie down. For once, he doesn't scold. Doesn't speak. Just pulls the straw around your legs and settles back into his corner. His silence is almost kind. But rest doesn't come. Not when the torchlight returns hours later. Not when the footsteps stop at your door. Not when they open it. But this time, it's not the guards. A man steps inside, flanked by two shadows that do not speak. He walks upright. Unchained. Clean boots. Clean hands. His face is smooth, but not young. His eyes are small. Tired. Familiar, not because you've seen them before, but because you've heard of them. This is him. The wheel. He looks at you the way one might study a bucket, not with contempt, not with pity, but with calculation. Then, to your surprise, he speaks softly. You confessed well. You blink. Say nothing. He crouches beside you. Not close. Just enough that his voice won't echo. I hear everything, he says. Who eats? Who talks? Who weeps in their sleep? He glances at the wall, where you carved your single line. Even who scratches the stone. You open your mouth, but he lifts a finger. I don't want words. I want time. He nods toward your cellmate. He won't last another season. His lungs are done. But you still have days. Weeks if you're careful. He reaches into his coat and takes out a strip of cloth. Not bread this time. Not warmth. A blindfold. You can wear it now and walk with me, he says. Or wait until your name is called again and crawl. You hesitate. He smiles, and for a moment, he doesn't look powerful. He looks tired. Burdened. This place doesn't break everyone, he says. Some of us bend. And bend. And bend. He leaves the blindfold beside your head and stands. Tomorrow, he says. Or not. That's up to you. Then he's gone. The door closes. The cell is dark again. But the cloth is still there. And for the first time, your choices feel like a punishment all their own. You don't sleep. Not because of the pain. Not because of the cold. But because you feel it. Something has changed. Not in your body, but in the walls themselves. A pressure. A new attention. The blindfold lies near your head. You haven't touched it. But now you're being watched. Not by the wheel. Not by guards. By someone closer. You hear the sound first. Breathing, too steady, too close. Not from your cellmate. From the other side. Beyond the stone. A wall separates you from the next prisoner, but only just. Through the cracks, faint drafts pass. And with them, sound. A whisper. At first, it's just noise. Then words. You ate. You freeze. The voice is rasping. Dry. Male. You drank, it says again. You got warmth. He gave it to you. You don't respond. A long silence. Then, I had it too. Once. Before I bled. You swallow. What do you want? You whisper. The voice chuckles, but there's no humor in it. Just teeth. To see who you become. They all do, you know. The ones he touches. They think they're chosen. But he's not saving you. Another breath. He's shaping you. You press your ear to the wall. The stone is cold. The voice continues. I watched the last one. A boy. 15. Gave him books. Soap. Meat. Then he disappeared. No one asked? No one knocks when you're fed. You want to ask more, but something in you resists. Not fear. Recognition. The voice isn't wrong. The silence returns. For a long time, there's only dripping. Then, at the very edge of hearing, I'll be here when you come back. We all come back. You lie down slowly. This place, it doesn't kill you with blades or fire. It waits. It feeds you just enough to keep the flame lit. And when it's time, it asks what you're willing to burn. The cloth stays beside you for a full day. You don't move it. Don't touch it. But you watch it, the way you might watch a spider crawling across your skin. It does nothing. Says nothing. But its presence fills the room. Your cellmate dies just after sunset. No scream. No final word. Just a breath that doesn't return. You sit beside him for an hour. 2. The guards don't come. Perhaps they already knew. Perhaps they were told not to care. You wrap his body in the straw. Not because it will help, but because it feels like something. When you lie down again, the blindfold is where you left it. But now, it feels heavier. Not in weight. In consequence. You pick it up. It's rough linen. Stiff. Slightly damp. It smells of sweat and mold, but also, faintly, of cloves. That detail breaks you. Cloves. Spice. Memory. Once, your mother pressed clove buds into oranges in the winter. You remembered the scent every year. And now, here, in the belly of stone, it returns, carried by a cloth made for silence. You hold the blindfold in both hands. You could tie it now. Walk into the dark willingly. Let the wheel shape you. Give your pain a purpose. Or you could tear it. Refuse. But then what? There are no heroes here. No rescues. Just choices that hurt differently. You press it to your face. It's not a decision. It's a surrender. But not to him. To the hope that something remains on the other side. That the beating won't be for nothing. That the chains will eventually feel like tools, not fetters. You lie down, cloth in hand, eyes closed. You are not the wheel. Not yet. But you've taken the first turn. That night sleep does not come. Not because of hunger. Not because of pain. But because something is different. The air tastes warmer. Not clean, never clean, but carrying a scent not native to the cell. Wax. Wood smoke. Iron warmed by fire. And beneath it all, something old. Animal. You sit up. The blindfold lies where you left it, folded now, without your hand. Someone, or something, touched it. The guards haven't come. And yet, the stone under your feet feels warmer. You press your hand to the floor. Vibration. Distant, soft, like drums muffled by years. Not rhythm. Pulse. From below. Then you hear it, soft footsteps, not from the corridor, but under the cell. As if a hollow tunnel runs beneath the block. Not boots. Bare feet. Wet, soft, slow. The same sound from days ago. But this time it stops. Directly beneath you. Silence follows. Not empty. Expectant. You rise slowly. Your cellmate is gone. The straw in the corner undisturbed. His absence makes the space feel wider. Too wide. Every sound is sharper now. Every breath magnified. You approach the wall where you scratched your mark. Another has been added. Not a line. A symbol. A circle. With a dot at the center. You didn't draw it. But someone did. Your knees weaken. You lean against the stone, heart pounding. The footsteps below resume, but now they move upward. Not beneath. Toward. And from the darkest corner of your cell, Where no torchlight ever touches comes a draft. No, a breath. Warm. Wet. You turn, but see nothing. Just black. But in that black you feel it, invitation. Not a voice. Not a hand. Just the overwhelming sense that if you step forward, something will change. Not freedom. Not rescue. Understanding. You wait until the second torch dies. Not out of fear. Out of instinct. There's a rule in this place. One you've never been told, but somehow know, nothing honest happens while fire still burns. You take the blindfold. Not to wear. To carry. And you approach the corner where the draft came from. The stone looks solid. But up close, you see it, a thin line, vertical, barely perceptible. A seam. Not natural. Not age. A door. You press your hand to it. It doesn't move. But it breathes. Something behind it exhales, as if it's been waiting for centuries for a hand like yours. Then a click. Not metal. Bone. The stone shifts inward. Not fast. Not loud. But deliberately. Dust falls from the ceiling. You step back as the slab swings open just enough to reveal blackness. But not empty blackness. There's a path. A narrow stair spiraling down. Too narrow for guards. Too uneven for torches. You don't ask yourself why you go. You just go. Step by step, barefoot, one hand on the wall. The deeper you descend, the warmer it gets. But not like fire. Like breath. Like something sleeping. The air thickens. Not foul, not exactly. But old. Wet. Alive. You reach the bottom after 100 steps. Maybe more. And there, in a chamber the size of a chapel, you see them. Figures. Seated. Not chained. Not dead. Still. 10. Maybe 12. Hoods over their faces. Hands resting in their laps. Silent. And in the center, a stone altar. Upon it, a bowl of water. Clear. Still. Lit by nothing. You step forward. And the hooded heads turn toward you, not sharply. Slowly. As if pulled by your presence. But they do not speak. They only wait. And you realize. This is not punishment. It's inheritance. You approach the altar slowly. The bowl before you is plain, clay, round, without ornament. But the water inside, it shouldn't be clean. Not here. Not after generations of rot, blood, waste. And yet it is. Still. Clear. Bright even. You lean over it. Your reflection is wrong. Not reversed, altered. Thinner. Older. The shape of your jaw different. The bruise on your cheek, gone. Your hands, red with something that isn't blood. And then the water ripples. You didn't touch it. But it responds. The figures remain seated. Still watching. Still silent. Then a voice. But not from them. From the bull. At first, it sounds like a breeze stirring reeds. Then, as your breath stills, words emerge. Not loud. Not harsh. Tell me what was taken. You don't know if it expects an answer. You open your mouth, unsure what will come. My name, you whisper. The water stills. Then again movement. More words. Tell me what you gave. You hesitate. My silence. The bowl ripples once more. And this time, your image is gone. Replaced. Not with another person, but with a place. A hall. Wooden beams. Firelight. And in the center, a man seated on a chair of rope and bone. You know that shape. The wheel. He is not speaking. He is listening. To a guard. The same one who brought you down. The scene has no sound, but the message is clear. You are not the first. And not the last. The bowl flickers again, now shows a child, carving the same spiral into a wall. Another flicker, a woman lying on straw, smiling despite blood on her teeth. Another, your cellmate, years younger, weeping into his hands, carving his first line. Then silence. The bowl stills. You look up. The hooded figures now stand. But they do not approach. They bow. Slightly. As if in acknowledgement. Not of your power, but your passage. You have crossed something. Not a right. Not an elevation. A recognition. You are part of this now. And the worst truth of all? You feel grateful. You don't remember climbing back up the stairs. There are no guards waiting. No locks snapping. No torches lit. You return to your cell, and find the door already open. Not wide. Just enough to slip inside, like nothing happened. The blindfold is gone. So is the body. Your cellmate, vanished. In his place, a folded blanket. Rough wool. Clean. On the wall, beside your old tally mark, more have been added. 6 neatly carved. Not by you. You sit. For a moment, you feel the weight of it all, the altar, the voices, the others. And then it fades. Because this cell isn't a prison anymore. It's a station. The beginning of a roll. Later, someone else will arrive, a new prisoner. Young. Cold. Eyes too full of questions. You'll tell them nothing. At first. You'll show them where the straw is driest. Where to sleep to avoid the drips. When to speak. When not to. You'll share the marks on the wall. And when the guards come for them, you'll watch, just as yours once watched you. Because someone must. This place doesn't need wardens. It needs witnesses. Above you, footsteps echo in the corridor. Chains rattle. A voice cries out, too new, too afraid. And you remain still. Not because you've given up. Because you've joined. And in the silence that follows, deeper than the stone, colder than the iron, warmer than any torch, you feel it. The wheel turns. And now, you are part of the turning. They come for you without warning. No chains. No threats. Just a man at your door, thin, gray-haired, eyes like stone. He doesn't speak. He nods. You follow. No one stops you. The halls twist. These aren't the corridors you remember. These run deeper, smoother. Not carved by hand, worn by use. Generations of feet. Of silence. Eventually, the air changes. It warms. And then the corridor widens. You enter a room without torches, but full of light. From where you don't know. The stone glows faintly, like moonlit ash. No windows. No smoke. Just quiet, clean illumination. And in the center, a table. Not a throne. Not an altar. A table. Wooden. Worn. One chair. He sits waiting. The man from the vision. The same robes. The same stillness. The same lack of chains. You do not speak. He doesn't move. When he finally raises his eyes to you, they are not cruel. Not kind. Just ancient. You've come far, he says. His voice is quiet. But it strikes like a bell. Clear. Exact. You were not chosen, he continues. You came because you broke. You flinch. He watches. No one rules here, he says. Not truly. We endure. We remember. That is all. He gestures to the chair across from him. You sit. There were many before you. Some stronger. Some wiser. All ask the same question. He leans forward. Do I leave? You nod. Do you? You hesitate. No. A flicker, not a smile. A recognition. He opens his hand. Inside, a key. Not large. Not ornate. Iron. Simple. He places it on the table. You stare at it. Every prisoner finds it, sooner or later, he says. Some use it. Some don't. You ask, finally. What does it open? He tilts his head. That depends. You lean forward. He closes your hand around it. And says only, now you decide who remains. The key never left your hand. You don't wear it. You don't hide it. You just keep it, like a tooth in your palm, smooth from being turned over again and again. It doesn't open a door. It opens you. 3 days after the meeting, a new prisoner arrives. Young. Barely grown. A cut on his lip. Wrists purple from ropes. His legs buckle as they shove him into the cell opposite yours. No one tells him why he's here. No one tells him how long. You watch from your bench. He doesn't cry. But you recognize the twitch in his fingers, the need to scratch, to mark the wall. Something. Anything. Proof that he isn't dissolving. You remember that urge. That first line. Later, when the guards leave, you slip something across the corridor floor. A splinter of bone, sharpened. He sees it. Hesitates. Then takes it. You've started him. And you know it. You sleep less now. Not from fear. From awareness. Every sound carries meaning. You know when someone's been taken to the courtyard by the pattern of footsteps. You know when someone will die soon by the way they cough blood and pretend it's nothing. The wheel no longer visits you. Because now, you are one of the wheels. Not a leader. There are no leaders here. Just gears. You grind. You turn. One night, someone passes a piece of bread through the wall. You don't see who. You don't eat it. You break it in half and slide it across to the new boy. He stares. He asks, why? You shrug. Because someone once did the same for you. That's all. No speeches. No purpose. Just motion. The smell of death rises slowly again. A man 2 cells down stops moving. You wrap his corpse. Quietly. Others watch. No one helps. That's how it is here. You don't help. You show. And they follow. Some break. Some don't. But all of them learn. The prison isn't the stone. It's the part of you that survives it. It starts with a sound. Not metal. Not keys. Not the endless stripping. A voice. Faint. Childlike. Calling a name. Not yours. But it used to be. You freeze. The new prisoner, the boy, whispers again, curled under his straw. Jacob, he says to no one. They said he was here. Your breath stops. No one in this place uses names. You haven't heard your own in weeks. Months? You don't even remember the last time someone said it without spitting. But this boy. He's looking for someone. You. You don't answer. At first. But the name keeps coming. Night after night. Like a prayer. Quiet. Not hopeful, just ritual. Jacob. It doesn't sound like an accusation. It sounds like trust. And that's worse. Because trust, in this place, is a knife with no handle. On the 5th night, he asks the guards. Please, he's my brother. They laugh. Then beat him. You listen. You do nothing. Because if he's right, if that name once belonged to you, then everything you've become since. It can't survive that truth. Later, alone, you press your head against the stone. And you whisper it. Jacob. It tastes like dirt, and ash and bread that was never shared. And for a moment, something inside you doesn't turn, it cracks. The wheel stutters. Because maybe you didn't survive all this. Maybe you just changed so much, no one would recognize what lived through it. Not even yourself. You smell it before you feel it. Rain. Not the rot-heavy damp that lives in the lower halls. Clean rain. Cold. Sharp. The kind that hits slate roofs and washes filth from streets you barely remember. It doesn't belong here. But it's real. You press your nose to the stone near the corner. The scent is faint, like a ghost's breath. But it's there. A memory, trapped in the cracks. Somewhere above you, it's raining. You've forgotten the sky. Not just its shape. Its weight. Its sound. Now you hear it, water hitting metal, gutter wood. A world still turning out there. And for the first time in weeks, maybe longer, you want out. Not to run. Not to fight. Just to stand in that rain and remember who you were before chains, before names became rumors, before bread was barter and silence currency. You don't speak to the boy across from you. Not anymore. He doesn't ask for Jacob now. He just watches you. And that's worse. Because you see it in his eyes, he knows. Knows you're what's left of the name he carried in his mouth like a charm. Knows you're hiding behind the rot and order and ritual. Knows you remember the same smell. One night, he asks gently, "Do you miss her?" You flinch. He doesn't mean a name. He means the mother you forgot. The one who held your wrists when you were 6 and the rains came hard and the goats scattered. The one who sang about rivers you never saw. You don't answer. You rise, walk to the mark on your wall, and add a new line. Not vertical. Not part of the tally. Horizontal. Across the others. You hear the boy breathe in sharply. Because he knows what it means. Not surrender. Not loss. Just this. No more counting. The wheel sends no messengers. But his offer arrives anyway. At night, beneath your door, someone slides a cloth pouch. Inside, a shard of glass, a strip of salted meat, and a charcoal stick. You know what it means. You're ready. Not to leave. Not to rule. But to decide. The glass to reflect. The meat to sustain. The charcoal to mark. Your hands tremble as you touch each one. You sit in the straw. The boy watches. You don't speak. Because the choice is already understood. There's a man in cell 14. Newer than most. Quiet. Not broken. He's been trading with guards. Silver for messages, names for favors. He's dangerous. Not because he fights. Because he remembers the outside world too well. The guards want him gone. They could kill him. But they won't. You will. Not with knives. Not with force. Just words. A whisper. A rumor. Enough to turn 3 other prisoners against him. To set motion in play. And in return, you get time. Warmth. The boy stays untouched. That's the offer. You hold the glass up to your face. Your reflection is warped. One eye larger. Mouth thinner. Stubble dark like mold. You see the hands of someone who hasn't bled in weeks. Because others have bled instead. You press the charcoal to the wall. But instead of drawing a symbol, you hesitate. What does it cost to remain safe? And who pays? The boy turns in the straw. His voice is small. Don't. You freeze. He hasn't seen what you hold. But he knows. You close the pouch. Slide it back under the door. The guards will understand. But more importantly, so will the wheel. And now you wait. Not for punishment. For the silence that always follows mercy. Because that silence? It's when they decide if you're still worth keeping. They do not punish you the next day. Not with fists. Not with cold. Not with hunger. They do something worse. They skip your name. No food. No count. No knock on the door. As if you no longer exist. The boy across from you gets his portion. The man in cell 14, still breathing. Still trading. You are invisible. At first, it feels like mercy. Then, like rot. The days stretch. The straw dampens. Your stomach knots. But more than the hunger, you feel the weight of being unacknowledged. You spoke back. And now you're being erased. The boy watches. He knows not to speak your name. Not now. Silence is safer. By the third day, your vision sways. You grip the wall just to stand. But you do not beg. That's the only weapon left. By the fifth day, the cold returns. Not in the air. In you. Because something is curling inward. Shrinking. And in the darkest hour, not night, because there is no night here, just depth, you hear a sound. Footsteps. But they don't stop at your door. They stop at his. The boy. You rise too late. They open his cell. Rough hands. Voices low. You shout. No one listens. They take him. Your body slams against the bars, not with hope, but with reflex. You hear one guard laugh. Should have traded Jacob. And then he's gone. Not forever. You hope. But that's the first time they use your name. And that's when you understand. They were never punishing you. They were letting you see what it feels like to matter again, and then taking it from you piece by piece. They bring it back the next morning. Not the boy. His blanket. Folded. Damp. Stained at the corner with something dark, not blood. Not exactly. They slide it under your door without a word. You stare at it. You don't touch it. At first. Then you do. The wool is still warm. That's the worst part. Not the stain. Not the silence. The warmth. You hold it in your hands like a dog holds a dying limb. Not ready to let go, not able to move on. There's a thread loose at the edge. He used to fidget with it while talking. You told him to stop once. He laughed. You remember that laugh now. It echoes longer than the chains. Later you hear the guard speaking. Not to you. Not about him. Just loud enough for you to hear. Too soft. Didn't last. Not like the others. You don't respond. Because there's nothing left to say. That night you lie with the blanket across your chest. Not for warmth. For weight. For proof. The cell feels smaller now. Not darker. Just closer. The wall where your lines once were, scraped clean. You didn't do it. Someone did. The message is clear. Start over. But you don't. You lie still. And dream of a voice that once said your name like it mattered. Now it's just a sound in your head. Like water in pipes. Or rats in walls. Or a song no one sings anymore. The door opens. Not with keys. Not with force. Just open. You wake and it's ajar. No guard. No sound. Just a soft creak of wood, dry, like a board left in the sun too long. You sit up. Wait. No one comes. No one calls. And for the first time since you arrived, the corridor smells of air. Not clean. But moving. Alive. You don't rush. You rise slowly, each step echoing like betrayal. You cross the threshold. No chains. No watchers. No screams. Just stone beneath your feet, warm for once, and silence. You pass cells. Some are full. Some are empty. Some you can't tell. No one meets your eyes. One man carves a shape into the floor with a fingernail. Another eats straw like bread. A third whispers to someone who isn't there. You keep walking. Toward what? You don't know. Then you see it. A staircase. Wide. Clean. Lit by torches that don't flicker. At the top, a wooden door. Sunlight paints the crack beneath it. Your legs move faster. Your breath catches. Could it be? You reach the final step. Lift your hand. Touch the wood. It's warm. Smooth. You press. It doesn't move. You push harder. Still nothing. Then, you see it. Carved faintly into the grain. Your name. Not Jacob. The one before. The one you forgot. The one no one else ever knew. You fall back, knees buckling. Because this isn't an escape. It's a mirror. And the only way out is back in. The door never opens. But you don't knock again. You return to your cell. Not in defeat. In recognition. You are not kept here. You remain. Days pass. Or weeks. Time bends now. Like straw under damp weight. Then, one morning, the guards come. Not to strike. Not to test. To speak. One word. Ready? You don't ask what they mean. You nod. They lead you not to the yard. Not to the altar. Not to the wheel. But deeper. Past the pipes. Past the rot. To a tunnel you've never seen. You walk for hours. Maybe more. Then light. Real light. The smell of rain and trees. And bread. You stumble as you reach the final step. The ground shifts from stone to dirt. Your eyes burn. Ahead, a wooden gate. No lock. No chains. A figure waits beside it. The man who brought you your first bowl. The one no one ever saw again. He doesn't smile. He doesn't speak. He lifts the latch. The gate swings open. Sunday wind. Color. You don't move. He nods once. As if to say, go, if you still know how. And suddenly you're afraid. Not of pain. Not of cold. But of forgetting how to walk without walls. You step forward. 1 pace. 2. You pass through. And for a moment, just one, you believe you're free. But behind you, the gate closes. No sound. No click. Just the soft sigh of a place that always lets one out. Because someone new must come in. You don't speak for the first 3 days. The sun moves. The sky turns. Rain falls. People pass. But your tongue stays behind. In the stone. In the straw. In the silence between screams. A farmer finds you by the edge of his field. He gives you water. You drink too fast. You vomit. He leaves you bread. You stare at it for an hour before taking a bite. It tastes like dust. The body heals faster than the rest. Your feet bleed. Then scab. Your skin blisters. Then peels. But the sounds, they linger. You hear chains and the clink of spoons. You hear cries in the wind across rooftops. You see walls and trees. You dream of the boy's eyes. Not when they were afraid. When they were still waiting. You don't know where to go. Your name is foreign now. Even your thoughts have an accent. So you walk. Town to town. You don't beg. You watch. Because that's what you are now. Not free. Not cursed. Just witness. People ask where you came from. You say, I don't remember. They laugh. You smile. But inside, the tally marks still burn. And somewhere, deep under stone, someone new is waking up in the dark. Scratching at a wall. Drawing their first line. You settle in a village by the river. No one asks much. You haul wood. Mend roofs. Sit by fires you don't own. Children whisper that you never sleep. Old men nod when you pass. One night, a girl cries in the square. Lost. Small. Muddied from the road. No one sees you kneel beside her. You don't ask her name. You ask where it hurts. She points to her chest. You say nothing. Just sit. Until her breathing slows. You leave before dawn. You don't take money. You never do. But word spreads. That there's someone who listens. Someone who doesn't judge. Someone who understands things no one should. They don't call you healer. Or priest. They call you nothing at all. But when a child wakes screaming, or a husband won't stop shaking after war, or an old man forgets his son's name and punches walls instead, they bring them to you, and you sit, and listen, and say nothing. Because some things don't need answers. They need witnesses. And you were made to witness. Once, long ago, you were broken in a place without windows. Now you are the window. And though you will never return there, it never left you. Somewhere, beneath stone and time, a boy wakes up in straw. A name echoes through the dark. And a wheel begins to turn. Again.